It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Delaware State's head triathlon coach, Coach Hannah Loftus. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college triathlon?
So honestly, this opportunity fell into my lap a little bit. I was in the right place at the right time, right when Delaware State was first starting a triathlon team. And I had a background in triathlon, but not necessarily in coaching. And so I got connected with the head coach at the time and worked as the assistant coach and then just transitioned over after a year and haven't looked back.
What was that experience like going to Delaware State and competing as a collegiate athlete for triathlon?
So the experience for the athletes on the team is pretty cool. We're one of the only HBCUs actually to offer triathlon. So I do feel like, they get the typical experience of competing in triathlon, but they also get some added opportunities and experiences as a member of an HBCU team.
What was that experience like for you competing and putting on the uniform for them?
I'm sorry, could you ask that one more time?
What was that experience like for you putting on that uniform and competing for them?
So I actually did not compete in triathlon when I was in college. I don't want to date myself too much, but triathlon is an emerging sport that only started in 2014, and I was not still in college in 2014.
What was that transition like for you going from being a grad assistant to being an assistant coach?
So going from being the assistant coach to being head coach was a huge transition. As an assistant coach, you get to do a lot of the fun stuff and help with practices and plan travel. And really just invest in relationships with the girls. And then as head coach, you do all that, but you also have the like hours of paperwork and all the time recruiting and the disciplinary matters and the stuff you have to be the bad guy on too.
What were some of the things that you were able to accomplish as an assistant coach?
So I think the biggest thing as assistant coach for me was just the personal growth. Like I invested so much time in learning about coaching and getting as much experience and hands-on and book knowledge as I could while I was the assistant and I had less responsibilities and demands on my time. I was able to really spend time learning and developing myself as a coach. So that was an investment that was definitely worth it. And I feel like that set me up to accomplish more as a head coach.
How was that feeling like when you became a head coach for triathlon for Delaware State?
It was such an honor. I was really, really excited to have the opportunity, and then to be selected to fill that role. It's just a dream come true to be doing this job and working with the team and the athletes I get to work with. It's such a privilege.
After getting announced, what was that feeling like getting started and being a head coach?
So it's probably two things. I would say one is like just a weight of responsibility, like it's on your shoulders as head coach. They always say it kind of ends with you. If things go well or if things go poorly, it comes back on the head coach. So there's definitely a weight of responsibility, but there's also just tremendous joy in being the head coach and being able to say, you meet someone new and they say, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" You get to say, "I'm a Division I triathlon coach." It's definitely a privilege.
Yeah. What does a typical competition day look like for you as a head coach versus for your athlete?
So for me as head coach and for the athletes, it's usually a very early morning. Our competitions in the fall and late summer, like we typically have an 8 a.m. start time, which means we're going to get to the race site by 6:15. So depending how far away we're staying, it's that, 4:30 alarm, get breakfast, get ready. And then I always try, actually always do, make sure that I'm ready about 30 minutes before the athletes have on their itinerary. We're going to meet and load up to leave at this time. have to be ready 30 minutes before that because there's always someone who forgot something, needs something. Like I can't be walking out at the moment we're supposed to meet up, or someone will absolutely need help with something I didn't have time for. So then it's an even earlier alarm. And then when we get to the race site, the first thing they do is like check into transition. So they set up their bikes and put all their gear in their designated place. And then we're looking at like a run warm up, a swim warm up on the swim course, and then like kind of regrouping, going over the plan, how we're going to execute the race. And then hopefully having time to like settle and get in the zone before the gun goes off for the start.
What are some of the events in a triathlon, and how do you train for a triathlon?
So in NCAA triathlon, the events are a 750-meter open water swim, a 20-kilometer bike ride. So you're looking at like 12.4 miles, and then a 5K run, so 3.1 miles. And so you really do have to train for all three. We spend several days a week swimming. We're in the pool. We bike multiple times a week outside, sometimes on the trainers. We do, a track run, a trail run. We run right after a bike ride to simulate the way your legs feel when you run as soon as you finish biking versus running on fresh legs. And then you have to incorporate strength training because you're doing all of this high impact activity and you want to make sure that your body's durable and not getting injured.
Of course, for you as a head coach, what is that like seeing your athletes going from, let's say, swimming to biking to then running?
So in the race, transition is the most exciting thing to watch. Like it's just a high energy time as they come out of the water and everyone's getting to their bike as fast as they can. Or, they get off the bike usually in a group of 20 or 30 girls and they're all trying to run the fastest 5K. So it's a lot of excitement. And I think it might give me high blood pressure because it's so much like energy and you kind of hold your breath and can't wait to see what happens. I definitely breathe a sigh of relief once every girl on the team is off the bike and onto the run because the bike is probably the portion where there's the like highest risk, biggest chance of something going wrong. So once everyone has racked their bikes back in transition, you get to kind of, okay, relax a little bit and then hopefully be giving them helpful tips and calling splits to them so they know where they are in relation to their teammates, in relation to the leaders, so that they can kind of use that information strategically while they're racing.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you started to build for the triathlon program?
Yeah, so I think that the DSU team culture is just something that we have, I don't want to say nailed it because I don't want to jinx it, honestly. We have dedicated a lot of time and energy and uncomfortable conversations and just nights and weekends and everything into building a team culture that we're proud of. So it took time, coming in kind of at the last minute when I took over as head coach and then developing those athletes. And then every year you bring in new teammates who have different personalities and different ways of doing things and trying to get that all to mesh. And I actually brought up in our team meeting on Saturday with the team that I have never been more proud of a team culture, and I have never just been happier to see the way the girls interact and support each other and encourage each other and have overcome differences. And there's always going to be a little spat here or roommate tension because one's messy and one's neat, like there's always roommate stuff that also plays in. And I've just never been happier to see how they work that out and like come together as a team.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
So since we are an emerging sport, there are not really conferences yet for triathlon. There's only 42 programs in the US. So like for Del State, we're in the MEAC conference and none of the other MEAC schools have triathlon yet. So we often find ourselves competing against schools like Navy, Wagner, Duquesne, like you kind of have to go outside the Delaware area a little bit to find our competitors.
What is that like competing against some of those schools like Navy, a military academy school?
Oh, it's a lot of fun, and we've had a great rivalry going with them this year. Like, we beat them in the first race of the year, and then they got us in the next one. So we're really gearing up. We have nationals coming up next month in November, and I think they're number one on our hit list of who we're going for.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Trine comes or Queen's University comes to your home facility to compete?
So we have not had the opportunity to host a home meet, just because of where we are located in Delaware. We are not well positioned to host an open water swim. Like we're not near a great body of water to do that. We're about an hour from the ocean, which I think would be fun, but a lot of teams would really rather not have that open water swim be in the ocean. So we have not had the first DSU home triathlon yet. We do a duathlon in the spring that's like a community event. It's not an NCAA event. So we have not hosted those schools.
What is that like having a community event like a dual app?
Oh, it's so much fun. And there's so much range at the Dover Duathlon that we put on. We have guys coming out who are, Kona qualifiers trying to see if they can show up the short course athletes from DSU and whoop them out there. And then we have, like family members of the team coming out on their old bikes. So we really like have the whole range, but the ongoing like challenge is can you beat the DSU girls in the duathlon? And so far the only person to beat them is actually my husband, and he is very proud of his title as the Dover Duathlon champion.
So far as a head coach, what have been some of the things that you've been able to accomplish?
Well, just what we were speaking about in terms of team culture, I think I would be remiss to not mention we have built a really beautiful team culture. I'm very proud of that. Our other accomplishments, we are the most successful HBCU triathlon team. There's only three, but we actually got our first win this year. So we've been top three in some races. We've been top five in some races, but this year we got the first overall win in a race in program history. So that was exciting.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective triathlon athletes?
So the recruitment process is definitely just a two-way street of, if I reach out, someone whose results I've seen, like maybe in the junior elite races, someone who's followed our team on social media reaches out to me, it has to be a collaboration of, I need to get to know the athlete needs to get to know me, and then putting them in touch with the team, having them visit, see the facilities, the campus in person, and giving them the opportunity to like sit down and have a meal with the team and just see, can I picture myself fitting in here? Is this the right place for me?
What are some of the things that you look at in those prospective student athletes?
So I think two big categories that I'm looking for in prospective student athletes. One is personality. Like if we've worked this hard to build a culture that we're proud of, we're going to protect it. So we want to bring in people who are going to have a positive attitude, who want to work hard, who want to get better. You can't think you know it all and be getting better at the same time. You have to recognize where you have opportunities for growth, um, be wanting to be a part of a team and not just be an individual who's really good at triathlon. You want to be part of a team. And then that second piece is the talent. We are a competitive team. We get a little bit better every year. So every year I'm looking to bring in a little bit stronger talent. Like as we build up this roster, then the times I'm looking for get a little bit faster every year.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that Delaware State triathlon uniform?
Oh, it's so cool. And it's really special too because our triathlon uniforms are made by a company that we have such a great relationship with. And they have like actually come to Delaware State to see the girls in action, like to watch them practice and see them. Um, so the DSU uniform is a pretty special, like the first time the freshmen come out in it, it's like really official. They've been training for weeks at that point before the first race, but then when they come out in their DSU Varlo uniform, like then it's official.
What is that like seeing them achieve those first big milestones as freshmen?
It's so exciting. And it's funny because the big milestone might be different athlete to athlete. So for one athlete, it might be, that they score a certain place at regionals or just qualifying for nationals. But for another athlete, it might be that breakthrough. Like, maybe they've been trying to go sub 20 in a 5K, and then this happened this year, the first race of the year, one of our freshmen broke 20 minutes in a 5K for the first time. Like it's the mini goals inside of a race, all the big picture, like just anything that they're excited about and want to celebrate as a coach, I'm here for it.
What is that like as a head coach seeing them putting on that uniform for the last time representing Delaware State as seniors?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm sure I will cry when that happens. But we actually just this year we'll have our first graduating class. Delaware State Triathlon has only been around for a little over 3 years. This is the fourth year of the program. So we have two seniors this year. I will see them put on their DSU uniform for the last time, but I haven't seen it yet.
What is that like getting to see those athletes going into coaching or life after the sport of triathlon?
Well, that's another one that I'm kind of speculating because they're not graduated yet. But the trajectory they're on, like, and looking at where they start as freshmen, as athletes and as people, and then watching them grow over 4 years. And, one of our seniors is a nursing major. Like, I just know she's going to be a great nurse. Like, I just am excited to see what they do after college. And in triathlon, you have the opportunity to kind of continue the sport outside of NCAA triathlon. There's local races and things like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to hopefully sharing a start line with an athlete I've coached and seeing them enjoy the sport after college.
What was that feeling like for you the first time you were on that start line as a head coach?
It was a little bit nerve-wracking. It gives you a little bit of like it gave me almost imposter syndrome of like, do I really deserve to be here as head coach? And then kind of as you come into your own and you learn more and grow more and get more confident in your abilities as a coach, it's still nerve-wracking. But there's this extra element of like anticipation to see how they're going to execute what we've practiced and see all of the training come to fruition.
What are some of your future plans for the Delaware State's triathlon program moving forward?
So moving forward, we are trying to get better every year, recruiting more talent, kind of raising the bar. Each year it's going to be a little more competitive to be on the team. My goals are to be contenders. We want to show up to races and be a factor and not just, oh, okay, well, we did well at this race, but at this race, not so much. Like that consistency, that consistent success is what we're striving towards.
What advice would you have those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college triathlon?
Make sure you know where your advisor is. And for us, they have academic services for student athletes. Make sure you know where that office is because they are such a great resource. Buy a planner. Like if you're old school, write it down. If you're not, that's fine. You can do it in your phone. But the time management piece of going from a high school athlete to a college athlete is a huge transition because you're looking at a full-time course load to maintain your eligibility. And then you are looking at, 15 to 20 hours a week of training. And then hopefully actually sleeping at night. So that time management piece, you have to get that right.
What advice would you give those college juniors transitioning into being seniors and leading the program?
Oh, that's a great question. And we actually have a really special junior on the team who is a team captain, and she was the freshman class like when I took over, her and another athlete. So my advice for them probably hasn't changed that much. Like each year I say, if you want to see something be different, you have to make it be different. Like if you see, oh, I wish we would do this. Can we do that? Then you need to take ownership and say, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make this happen. So my advice is they kind of move up through the years is to always take a little more ownership, take a little more accountability on yourself, and make the team what you want it to be.
What advice would you give those college seniors looking to compete after their collegiate career in triathlon or even getting into coaching?
So looking to compete after college can look several different ways for triathlon. Like I mentioned, there's just a great like grassroots community level of triathlon competition. You can just do small local races just to stay connected to the sport. You can go to the next distance and compete in Ironman events, half Ironman events if you want to, and see how you are at the long course. Obviously, there's like elite and pro opportunities. So you kind of have just all the options open to you coming out of college, how you want to compete. And for the athletes who are interested in coaching, I think the best thing they can do is to stay in contact with the sport. Look for a grad assistant position. There are a lot of programs who have grad assistants helping them out for NCAA triathlon, and just stay connected to college triathlon if coaching is your ultimate goal.
What advice would you give those head coaches looking to build their own triathlon program and start building their program?
So for coaches looking to build their program, I would come back to the biggest thing is recruiting the right people. If you get the right girls on your team who want to work hard, who want to get better, who want to show up every day, even if it's cold and dark, that's step one is it has to be the right people, and then you can develop the talent. So when you're signing an athlete, you're kind of investing in not just who she is right now and what she's capable of right now, but where do you think you can get her to next year? Where do you think you can get her to in 4 years? And really investing in them in the long term, and investing in them as people, and making sure you've selected individuals to be on your team who are going to build up your team culture and your team performance.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media along with the Delaware State Triathlon Program?
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you say that one more time?
Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program?
Okay, so I am a millennial and I'm really bad at social media. So I actually don't have an Instagram, but you can follow Delaware State Triathlon. It's Delaware State _ triathlon on Instagram and on Facebook. And our team captain, who I was just talking about, manages that social media for me and does a great job. She took it over after I was too millennial with it for a while, so I'm very thankful for her generational help with the social media.
Thank you again, Coach Hannah, for your interview, and best luck in your future as the head triathlon coach at Delaware State.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Hannah, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.